We'd like to hear from you in your own words about what happened.
One of the shows that I've been addicted to as I've been traveling around on my holidays here is Mindhunter. I watched the first episode when it first premiered because David Fincher is attached to this TV show. And the first episode is so shocking and dark and heavy with a violent episode that kicks off right at the beginning that it was really hard to kind of just let that wash over me and just continue on. But I read some incredible things about the second season, which just recently debuted on Netflix. So I thought I would give you my thoughts on the first 2 seasons of Mindhunter. And one thing to know about this show is that it's a hit. And David Fincher has expressed his feelings on wanting to continue this series for up to 5 seasons, which is terrific because now I am fully addicted to this TV show.
We're doing research, interviewing men like you.
It stars Jonathan Groff and Holt McCallany, who form the behavioral science unit at the FBI, and then also recruit Wendy Carr, played by Anna Torv, who I loved on Fringe, to join up as part of their trio, and then they expand within the FBI. And what they endeavor to do is go off and interview serial killers. They actually formed the phrase serial killer.
It's a good phrase, no?
As they start to talk to all of these really twisted individuals that have committed some heinous crimes, and they start to try to understand what goes through these people's minds as they go off and murder person after person, and all of their urges and impulses and dark thoughts and their backgrounds and their mistreatments through their lives and what leads them to these really heinous violent acts. Disturbing, but it's also incredibly interesting, and it's done with such an intellect, and it feeds your imagination for sure, and there's all of this repressed emotional stuff that happens throughout the entirety of the series, because obviously we start to see that these FBI agents are moved by these interactions with the psychotic individuals, these serial killers out there. This is based on a lot of real life background, and these serial killers are real life serial killers. Ed Kemper is the name of the serial killer that Cameron Britton plays, and his performance is breathtaking. It's so freaky and so scary. What you discover as you kind of commit to the show is that this is less a show about overt violence and, really scary acts and terror that's carried through with blood and guts and gore. They flash on imagery. There's a lot of police evidence and photographs and stuff that the camera pans across, and you see it, but it's more, just as the title implies, a dive into the minds of these people, and it's terrifying to think of what they've done to other people, but you see it from their words and from their perspective and from their vantage point. And I feel like that psychological sort of fixation is almost more effective and more terrifying, because it's hard to, close the laptop or put the iPad down and then walk away and not feel the ripple effects of what these people have been talking about sort of permeate into your own subconscious as you drift off to sleep. I've had some uneasy sleeps, I have to tell you, as I've been diving into these episodes.
That's right.
The first season was a little bit more enjoyable, mostly because we're sort of seeing the formation of the BSU within the FBI and the turmoil that creates. What we understand, especially from Bill Tench, Holt McCallany's character, is that the FBI is really a structured institution, and so much of the structure that Holden Ford challenges, played by Jonathan Groff, is to kind of treat these people not just as castaways and psychos that we're never going to understand, but they're trying to get into the heads of these serial killers so that they can stop future serial killers sooner.
Certainly our goal is to be preemptive.
We're the FBI, Holden. That is not our goal. Yet.
It really shakes things up within the FBI, and through the first season, we see Holden Ford, this young kind of rookie FBI agent, start to have some success and start to have this real arrogance evolve throughout the course of the first season. And then that, of course, gets challenged not only by the FBI, but through some of the encounters that he has with some of these serial killers. He gets put through the ringer, as does Bill Tench and as does Wendy Carr, as she's coming into the fold here and has to grapple leaving a background in education to go through the rigors of all of the structure within the FBI, and of course it's male dominated, and although she's paid a lot of respect, she's also put into a corner a little bit. I loved Anna Torv's performance in here. I also love the cinematography and all of the period setting. It's set in the late 70s and early 80s, so there's some great music and some great vehicles and some great hairstyles and clothing. Also some incredible portrayals. We also get to see Charles Manson in the second season. Spectacular performance again there, and there's a lot of YouTube videos comparing a lot of the performances of some of these actors to archived interview footage with some of these serial killers.
Well, if you know, you know. You don't need to talk to me.
Just extraordinary television. Even though we've seen a lot of shows about serial killers, I think about a program like Dexter or something like that, and we've seen a lot of dark shows over the years. This is different. This is really about the psychological makeup,
What happens to these men is normal, but the way that they process it is not.
And in the second season, after we've seen a lot of the interview pieces come together and we've seen the BSU kind of come into its own, we start to see the FBI throw the BSU at an ongoing case that's happening in Atlanta where all these children are getting murdered.
Help us identify the persons behind the murders of our children in Atlanta.
So we see Bill Tench and Holden Ford out in the field trying to figure out exactly who's killing all of these kids, and there's a lot of racially charged and politically charged machinations happening there that they have to kind of navigate through. Incredible stuff. Beautifully put together. The second season is a little bit more about procedures. It's a little bit more about the nuance and the idiosyncrasies and the matchups of personalities. It's a little less about character building and, I guess, mythology building through the course of the show. So I found it a little less inviting, although there's an excellent subplot that's happening with Bill Tench and his family.
You're a family man, Agent Tench?
Which isn't fully answered or fully taken care of by the end of the second season. There's a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of stuff sort of left hanging for future seasons, which I desperately want.
He wants to expand the unit, and he intends to make our approach practice.
Mindhunter is exceptional television. You owe it to yourself to check it out, especially if this kind of stuff has ever fascinated you before. It's done with such intelligence, it's going to blow you away. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.